Right now, I'm riding over a bunch of cracks and bumps on the road, and normally I'd feel every single one, but several weeks ago, I installed a game-changing upgrade for a very comfortable ride. Well, actually two. Spoiler alert, it is expensive, but honestly, absolutely worth it. In my last video, I explained how I converted my old vintage Bianchi from the 80s, a road bike, into my daily commuter bike, and I've made upgrades over the years, including changing the tires from 23 millimeters to 28 millimeters, the maximum width that my bike can accept. It did make the ride more comfortable, but it just wasn't enough. It started to get to me, all those cracks and crevices, feeling it in my body. I might have to get that spring Seatpost. Without having to switch my bike out completely, one of the upgrades that I could do to make my ride more comfortable was upgrading the seat post to one that had shock absorption. There are cheaper suspension seat posts out there, but it became pretty clear to me quickly that the budget ones just wouldn't suit my needs. And those are the ones that generally you see the spring and it goes up and down on the seat post. I also had direct experience because I bought myself a Thudbuster G4 that has elastomers for my e-bike. However, it wasn't really a good fit. The saddle rail width didn't match, so the clamp would sometimes loosen with time, which is obviously not ideal when you're riding, but that was entirely my fault because I didn't check compatibility. Definitely check all of the sizes and the compatibility of the rail width of the seat post, the rider weight capacity, check all of that before clicking buy. If you aren't sure about the diameter of the seat post, just remove the seat post. It should be indicated on there. I splurged and got myself the Redshift Shockstop Endurance seat post. I wasn't sure if I would do a review for this, but then after one ride, I knew immediately how much of a game changer this was and that I absolutely had to do a review for it. I reached out to Redshift to ask a bunch of questions. One thing led to another, and Redshift did in fact end up covering the cost of my unit, so I do want to be very upfront about that. However, this is not a sponsored review, and I only ever collaborate with brands that trust and value how I review, and I don't accept content direction. The Redshift seat post does get reviewed a lot by lots of very serious cyclists. I'm just a cyclist enthusiast. I love my bike, I love bike commuting, I love sharing about it and upgrading and really optimizing my bike because I just love when I get the right product for the right need that solves a problem. And that's what my channel is all about. If you don't know who I am, I'm Jess, and this is Gadgets, Gear, Coffee. I do real use and real world review of well-designed gear like tech, cycling, coffee, and gear that connects them. So if you're new here, consider subscribing and discovering really cool products along with me. The Redshift Shockstop is one of the top tier premium seat posts that you can get. And there's a good reason for why it does cost what it does, because it can do a lot more than the budget versions. Redshift sometimes does have sales occasionally, so click the links in the description to see if there are any sales. I also have an exclusive discount code for my viewers. Those are affiliate links. It does give me a little bit of a kickback at no extra cost to you. So if this review helped you, it is an easy way to support the channel if you end up getting this. Redshift currently has 3 models. All 3 have a travel distance of 35 millimeters and are very much built for road and gravel. The city, good for e-bikes. It's a bit heavier. It's good for heavier riders as well. And the stem is a little bit longer. Then you have the Endurance, which is the one that I have. I believe it's the original. There's a lot more options in terms of stem length, seat post diameter, and it's a good all-arounder. If you want the best of the best, the most lightweight for even more dampening, you have the Pro version. It combines tunable coil springs and adds swappable elastomers. So on smaller cracks, it stays soft and reactive, but on bigger hits, the elastomer kicks in progressively to better control the travel. So whether it's a small crack or a big bump, the Pro responds more consistently across the range, offering the smoothest ride of the lineup. You can fine-tune all of them to really adjust for your needs, and choosing the right model will be based on your size, your compatibility, your features that you need, and your budget as well. Redshift Sport started in 2013 by a group of avid cyclists as well as engineers. They had their start on a Kickstarter. In 2019, they released the seat post. They found that what was available on the market was lacking in terms of design. They also wanted to set out and create a good high-performing seat post that you could fine-tune and that looked really good. If you look at what's available on the market, there's nothing as sleek as Redshift. That's obviously subjective. You actually can't even really tell this is a seat post unless you pay attention. This is, I think, really a buy-it-for-life product, which is kind of rare these days. Because when I asked them, when do I have to replace the springs? They said, oh, you don't have to ever replace the springs. Like, there shouldn't be a reason for you to. It'll last the lifetime of the product. On top of it, They have a lifetime warranty, which is so rare to have these days. They stand by their product. I haven't had to file a claim. I don't know if I ever will. I can't really speak to how that will work, but I can tell you that the exchanges that I've had with their team so far, including the co-founder himself, has been very great, pleasant, gonna sound odd, but human. Having worked with many brands, I can't say that's the case for every single brand that I have collaborated with. They also have a 90-day return in exchange policy. Installation is really easy. Follow the instruction manuals. There's gonna be some information there that'll be very helpful. There are 2 saddle clamp hex bolts that you secure and adjust the angle at the same time. This is designed this way on purpose. The clamp is a non-traditional take on the standard 2-bolt saddle clamp. It's designed specifically to keep the mechanism smaller than a classic side screw clamp. There are some downsides to this. It can be an issue to reach in to get your hex key in there, make it a little bit tricky to adjust. I couldn't get my bike torque wrench in there. I had to use just a very classic Allen key. If you have a bike multi-tool, probably not gonna fit in there either. It's a little bit tight to work in there. On the plus side, it can make it a little bit easier against theft because it is kind of difficult to reach. I also ordered a new HexLox to block the bolts. I could only easily reach to fit one, so I put the other one on a different bike part. And I also forgot to put my Seatpost HexLox back in after I removed it. So after 7 years of having it, I lost it. So I ordered a replacement just for some added theft protection. At the beginning, maybe you'll make some more adjustments, so bring that Allen key with you. But once you've had it set, you won't really be fiddling around with that. So yes, it's not great, but it's also not terrible. There is a little O-ring in there to hold the fender, and if you're not careful, you can end up pinching it and breaking it, which is what happened to me. Redshift was about to send me an O-ring, and I told them, listen, it's fine, just give me the O-ring measurements. I'll go pick one up next time at the hardware store. So I'll put the measurements in the description in case that happens to you. Instead of buying an O-ring, I actually just took a old piece of jute string that I had and just tied it up with a knot, because ultimately all you need is to prevent this fender from popping off and losing it. On my first ride, I immediately felt a difference. It was night and day. Go on parts that normally I would avoid, and I can just focus on riding. It works so well. It works well for lightweight riders, which is such an issue for me with all of these posts. Like this even said it could go down to under 110 pounds. I actually don't know how much I weigh. It should be about at 120 last I checked. All of these. I feel unstoppable. Super smooth, super smooth, super smooth. There's absolutely no way that I'm ever going back. The Shockstop Endurance seat post absorbs the small cracks and shocks easily. For bigger hits, train tracks, a bump in the road, you'll still feel a little something, but it's significantly softened. The seat post quickly recovers and firms up. Your experience is also going to change depending on your tire thickness. Without a shock absorbing post, all of that energy is going straight into my body instead. And when I'm not paying attention to it because I'm product reviewing, I forget it's on while it takes the edge off my ride. Enjoy my non-existent animation skills to demonstrate why this works so well. Who remembers Newton's third law? Every action has an equal and opposite reaction. Here's a pixelated mini Jess cutout. Your weight is mostly on your saddle, which is closer to the rear wheel. More of the impact on the rear wheel will travel straight into you. Small detail, but wanted to add that. So when your bike is moving forward, hits a bump, ba-bum, or a crack, bum-bum, that impact, the reaction, pushes up and forward. How each seat post handles that impact, the reaction, is where things get a little different. On a rigid seat post, nothing moves, so that force goes straight into your body. On a pogo style or telescoping seat post, the spring only moves up and down along the tube, which is angled, so you get some absorption, but only along that one angle. On top of that, cheap seat posts often suffer from stick-slip friction. It won't move at all until enough force builds up, then suddenly releases and is jerky, inconsistent absorption and bounce. The Redshift Shockstop spring sits inside the post itself, and there is a parallelogram 4-bar linkage. So instead of sliding up and down, the saddle moves through a small arc, down and back, actually moving to oppose that force optimally. That arc also has the advantage of keeping the distance between your saddle and your crankset and your pedals more consistent than a telescoping post, which would shorten that distance as it compresses, something that could affect cadence and knee comfort. In my own observation with the Redshift Shockstop's endurance seat post, whether pedaling on flat ground, hitting a bump or crack, I stayed connected to the saddle and the bike, so pedaling felt controlled and continuous even when absorbing shocks. The spring that's inside the seat post is long and it gives it that bottomless feel when it's absorbing the shock. So it still has that limit of 35mm of travel, but the spring flattens the resistance curve so you don't feel a hard jolt if you reach the end because it builds gradually instead of hitting a wall. And that's why it feels so smooth when you're using it and when it's absorbing all sorts of shocks. Immediately after getting the Redshift Shockstop seat post, I went down another rabbit hole. I actually bought another one, didn't like it, returned it right away, found this one and have stuck with it. Really, really love it. My original saddle convex shape was an issue in terms of comfort. I didn't even realize that I was unconsciously curling and compensating my posture instead of leaning into the seat properly because I was avoiding pressure and rubbing. It wasn't unbearable because my rides were short, but definitely not comfortable. My new saddle was this beautiful Prologo Nago R4 PAS with the cutout. I love this saddle. First of all, just on a design standpoint, I think it just looks so sleek. It looks very techy and it matches the Redshift. It's black on black, and then my bike, which is kind of like a black metallic. It looks fantastic and it feels fantastic. The comfort was immediate. This cutout creates that relief around the perineal region and pubic bone so that I can actually lean into the seat. So the bottom line is making the upgrade to my seat post and the saddle made my ride 1,000 times more comfortable and also just made me pedaling and biking way more efficient. You can fine-tune this seat post exactly to your liking, to your needs. I followed the instruction manual's guide as a starting point, go with that. I didn't have to make any adjustments after that. I haven't felt it bottoming out. It's felt really great. In order to fine-tune, it does require you removing the seat post. So if you are planning on constantly making changes, you're probably going to want a seat post with an external adjustment, something easy to reach instead of having to take this out each time. The Shockstop spring being fully enclosed in the seat post is actually an advantage because it is protected from road grime, water, and debris. So the springs won't get affected by, let's say, a rock getting stuck. What is my final verdict? Well, as you can tell, I'm very much in love with my new saddle seat post combo. I basically got one of the best seat posts out there, so there's very little negative to say. It just works really well. It's gonna cost more because of a lot of engineering, design, material choices that reflect in the ride, in the feel. I've given the bike a fantastic upgrade. I didn't know I could love my bike even more, and truly I love it even more. Subscribe, like, I hope this video helped. If you want to see how I acquired my beautiful Bianchi bike and all of the upgrades I made over the years before, you can check out that video right here. If not, the YouTube algorithm gods are saying that this video may be of interest to you, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.